June 4th, 2024 meeting of the Smithfield Town Council to order. I'm sorry we're late. I'm going to have to get somebody to adjust the town clock that I was relying upon, but anyway, we will move along. At the present time, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming here tonight. The first item on the agenda is the informational section. Mr. Stallings.
Yes, sir. Included in your packet was activity reports for the previous month. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. If not, the only other thing I have is just a reminder from the AV folks to make sure you speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you.
Thank you very much. The next item we have is we have a number of presentations this evening. The first that I have on the agenda is the Smithfield Police Department reaccreditation. Chief Howell, will you be handling that, or? Sheriff Clark will. Sheriff Clark. Sheriff, Honorable Sheriff, good to see you, sir. Floor is yours, sir.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Certainly good to be back in town council chambers once again. It's been
Good
a
to have
while
you
for
here.
me. Good to be here. Good to be here. I'm honored this evening to present the award for accreditation to the Smithfield Police Department. This award was first achieved by the Smithfield Police Department, which I'm honored to say I was a member of back in March of 2000. So for 24 years, this agency has proudly held this accreditation. It's not easy. 191 standards, I believe, that have maintained, and they have done that. So Chief Howell, Deputy Chief Meyer, I commend you on your leadership and your guidance in getting this accomplished. To Ms. Kincaid, I know being the accreditation manager is not easy, probably some sleepless nights and some scratching of the head, but you did it. And to the staff, the officers, great job, great job. Council, you should be proud and know that this agency upholds those policies and procedures. And the citizens of the town of Smithfield can also be proud that it builds a relationship with the community, knowing that these men and women are fighting each and every day to keep their community safe. So without further ado, Chief Howell. This is their sixth reaccredited, the seventh award. So Chief Howell and I sit on the commission, so I'm honored to have my fellow commissioner receiving this award. Thank you, sir. And it's so prestigious. If you don't mind, Mayor, if I can read it.
Please proceed. Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Certificate of Accreditation. This document certifies that Smithfield Police Department came before the Virginia Law Enforcement Professional Standards Commission on May 30th, 2024, and has met the requirements set forth by said commission and is therefore certified as an accredited agency for a period of 4 years. 7th award, Jackson H. Miller, Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Service. Congratulations, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm going to put this award where it needs to be. I am just the one to receive the award, but the award rightfully goes to the men and women of the Smithfield Police Department. So I proudly present the men and women, and especially Christy Kincaid, who is our accreditation manager. So it's with great pleasure that I present this to the men and women of the Smithfield Police Department.
While they're taking the pictures, what they did say, and it is accurate, it does keep Christy awake at night as far as these standards are concerned. And they all do a very, very good job. I know how seriously they took it as a former chief, so great job, guys, for sure.
Trying to figure out how to make a small.
Come back, visit anytime, sir. We'd love to have you. Thank you. Next item I have on the agenda is to swear in 2 new police officers, Darrell Coles and Donald Majette. I presume I pronounced that correctly?
You all may.
Madam, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it gives me great pleasure to come before you all on this evening to present our 2, well, they will be our 2 newest members once they are sworn in. So we have 2 officers coming before you tonight just for introductional purposes. They've been vetted, and they've decided that they want to be one of the finest among the Hampton Roads within the state of Virginia, in the country, one of the best police departments in the state of Virginia, the Smithfield Police Department. And if I may say so, members of council, your department, Smithfield Police Department, is respected throughout the state of Virginia. The name of Smithfield resonates in a positive manner throughout the state. And so it is my pleasure to add these 2 men to the ranks of the Smithfield Police Department.
You raise your right hand and you repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Donald Majette,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge all duties incumbent upon me
discharge all duties incumbent upon me
as a police officer
as a police officer
for the town of Smithfield and Allouez County,
for the town of Smithfield and Allouez County,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
All right, welcome aboard.
Gentlemen, you all have been police officers before. You've decided to be a Smithfield police officer. The badges that you have worn in the past are all made of metal, and they represent a symbol of public trust. Once you've come across that bridge and you've decided to be a Smithfield police officer, the public trust that these badges represent, as you can see, these badges are nice and shiny. They are not tarnished. So the public expects us to uphold that public trust by keeping these badges untarnished. The way that you can tarnish the badge is by not being true to your code of ethics, to the oath that you just took, to fair and impartial policing. If you tarnish the badge that you wear, not only are you tarnishing your badge, but you're tarnishing the badge of every man and woman of this agency. And as society has shown, if you tarnish the badge, it spreads throughout the country. So we hold that public trust very near and very dear to our hearts. It is that they have entrusted us to do the right thing. Gentlemen, you all have just took an oath of office, but I charge each of you to uphold and hold that public trust that these badges represent very near and dear to your heart. And if you do those things, what has been proven time and time again, that the public will rally behind you and they will show their support for you. Gentlemen, do you think that you can live up to those expectations?
Absolutely, sir.
Welcome aboard. Yes. Mr. Mayor, if you can indulge us just to take a picture, just for a little while.
Oh, wow.
We can do it just like this. Mr. Mayor, members of council, and citizens alike, our two newest members of the Smithfield Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. We're very, very proud of the police department. Glad it's going in the right direction as far as recruitment. Does this bring us up to full, or we?
We have one more position to fill, and we already have an applicant that's in the process. Conditional offer is forthcoming.
Thank you very much, sir. Next item I have on the agenda is update on transportation projects by Jamie Oliver. Good to have you with us today.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I have a brief presentation for you as an update for the Smithfield intersection project. They have it in front of them. I'm not quite sure what you're seeing yet, but I'm going to go with you're seeing my first slide.
Yeah, we can see it here, they see it there, yeah.
And it says Smithfield intersection project.
Got it. UPC 120650, correct?
Correct. The
All right.
Smithfield intersection project is at the intersection of the Route 10 bypass and Main Street, Route 258, right there at the Park and Ride lot intersection. That project is fully funded at this time and in design. The reason that we're coming to you tonight is just to give a brief update on where we are in the process and what the next steps are as we move through that project. Just waiting for it to catch up. There we go. This is a concept drawing just to give you a brief overview, but to look at the intersection, let's see if one of these is a pointer. There we go. This is Route 10 going north-south, and we've got Main Street going east-west, and this is the Park and Ride lot here. So what we're looking at doing is adding a second through lane going east-west on Main Street. We're going to do that by converting the existing right turn lanes in each direction to a through lane and adding new right turn lanes in each direction. Then we're also going to improve the existing left turn lanes in each direction by making them longer for existing traffic. Then we're going to close the existing Main Street entrance to the Park and Ride lot and push the Park and Ride lot entrance onto Pole Road. That'll be the main circulation entrance. And we're going to basically reconfigure the Park and Ride lot. We'll be increasing the spaces that are in there. We'll be redoing the lighting. We'll be changing the drainage in there to improve drainage in the area. We'll be adding a couple of EV charging stations, hopefully. That's a new option that we're taking a look at with Dominion, and changing the circulation pattern to improve the bus flow through there. The overall project budget is $8.4 million, and that's 100% funded through the VDOT project program. The project schedule, as you can see right now, we're in PE, and that still has over a year to go. Right-of-way will kick off after that, and that's approximately a year process as well. We're looking at a construction add date in 2026 with approximately a 18-month construction duration. So we're looking at construction completion in about 2028. The project status at this point is that we've completed survey. We have preliminary NEPA documentation submitted, and we're going through the process of getting NEPA concurrence through all of our federal partners. We have 30% design completed and submitted for review, and we've gotten comments back on that we're working through. We're in the development of public hearing design documentation, and we're going through that NEPA concurrence process. The next steps that we're going through, and one of the reasons that we're coming to you now, is we'll be completing those public hearing design documents and scheduling the actual public hearing process. That will probably happen later this fall. We'll also be completing that NEPA concurrence process and finishing all of the environmental documentation and getting all of the complete federal environmental approvals that the project requires. We'll be completing the drainage design for the project, and then we'll be requesting federal right-of-way authorization at the beginning of next year. And then I know this has been very brief. I'll be glad to answer questions, but one of the things I did want to point out is that if you go to the county's website under the Transportation Division, we do have a page for this project, and as project documents become available, we put them all on there for public review. So for example, the complete 30% design package is already available out there for the public review. The current NEPA concurrence documents are all out there for public review. The survey notices that we mail out to the public citizens, once they're released to the public, are also put out there. So anytime the schedule is put out there, each time it's updated for VDOT on dashboard. So we encourage the public, if they have questions, that they're always welcome to start with our website, because it usually has the most up-to-date information available, and then to peruse that first, and then go ahead and give us a call if they have any questions. But I'll be glad to answer any questions as well if you have them now.
Any questions from Ms. Oliver by members of council? Thank you so much for being here with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I may add
Yes, sir.
just one thing. Looking at this schedule, Ms. Oliver, it looks as if this project will not begin construction until we are completed with the construction on the Cypress Creek Bridge, or very, very close to. Is that accurate?
Correct. At this point, it looks like the timing should be that Cypress Creek will be finished, and this would not go to construction until after.
Very good. Thanks for, I know you guys were looking out for that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item is the Economic Development Reward Program. Yes, ma'am. Come forward.
Good evening, Mayor Bowman and members of Town Council. My name is Christy Sutphin. I'm the Isle of Wight County Economic Development Director.
Welcome.
And thank you. I wanted to briefly update you on a new Shop Local program that our department launched a couple of weeks ago. So back in February, we started hearing that the businesses on Main and Church Streets were being impacted by the Cypress Creek bridge construction. And we had recently been speaking with a company called Blue Dot Technology about an open rewards app program that they offer. That is a Shop Local program. And we thought that the timing might be right to give this a try, and that it might help to generate some foot traffic back to the businesses on both Main and Church Streets. We started talking with the company a little bit more about how this could work, how we could target those businesses specifically, and the result, we took it to our Economic Development Authority and asked for funding to fund the rewards portion of the program. And the result of that is a 6-month trial program that we are in now that provides cash back for shopping at eligible businesses in Smithfield. Our department, Economic Development, is paying for the subscription portion of the program, and the Economic Development Authority has funded the rewards portion of the program for $5,000. We did develop program guidelines, and those guidelines are on our website, and I believe Mr. Stallings may have shared those with you as well. If the program is deemed successful, we would like to look at continuing it beyond the 6-month trial, and also expanding it to include other businesses in Smithfield, other businesses in the county at large, in the town of Windsor. So at that point, we would probably need additional funding. So we may come back to you at some point later in the year and ask for additional funding. At this time, I'd like to ask my colleague, Nicole Taunton, our Economic Development Coordinator, to come and just give you a really brief update on some of the stats and how the program works.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Nicole, good to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak to you about this program. So as Christy stated, the kickoff date officially for this program was May 20th. The live date was actually a little bit earlier, and that helped us kind of look at some of the tweaks, work with one of the businesses to see, how it would work. So how we notified the businesses, emails were sent to the eligible businesses, that's per the program guidelines, around May 17th. Information with instructions and marketing materials. Basically, the way we did this program is all those businesses that were eligible were opted in. The email said if they chose not to participate or not wanted to participate, they could email us by opting out. The program is very simple, very easy, and I encourage all of you to use the program if you've not done it already. It's app-based. You download the app. You select the community, which shows as Isle of Wight on the app. You shop as you normally do. It's a receipt-driven program. So you upload the receipt, either paper or email snapshot. And then you wait. You wait to get paid, let your rewards build. And then you can also redeem the points the same way. You will shop local at a particular shop, tell the program you want to redeem, how much you want to redeem, and it's usually about 7 to 10 days before you receive the payout based on the method of payout selected at the beginning. It's very easy, it's very user-friendly. There are tutorials and such that are on the program. This company has rolled this out, had this for quite some time, and there's some other municipalities in Virginia that are doing this as well. So just to let you know, as of 5 p.m. today, and of course this changes a lot because there are transactions that people have done, but they've just not been uploaded through the system. But as of 5 p.m. today, we have 173 users. Those are people who have actually signed up for the app. 134 businesses that are eligible. $379.53 of the rewards for rewards have been distributed. That leaves a $3,078.69 economic impact. We have an app, or we have a program that measures the impact. Because remember, they're only getting 5% of the reward back, but what they're spending, is much more than that. And as of date, the economic impact, there are 25 businesses that have received, that people have shopped at. So far, with the 62 transactions that have happened, 96.77% of the users are here within Isle of Wight County, from the county, and 67.5% of the customers said that the Open Rewards program influenced their decision to shop local. So that is what we have for you. And again, I think you all received the program guidelines. I've got some of the flyers here too. Just wanted to see if you all had any questions for Christy and I about the program.
Any questions?
Mayor.
Mr. Collins?
I actually serve on EDA and approved this when they presented. It's an awesome program. I think the key is what you said at the end, is that it helped people decide to shop locally. And that was the whole purpose of it with what's going on with the bridge. So if this does have a return on investment later on, when they come back to the town, it would be something worth considering to continue that feeding the downtown area and the rest of Isle of Wight if it goes there. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Much appreciated.
I'm trying to take the mic with me. Okay, there we go.
Next, we have VDOT updates. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Paul Maddox with Franklin Residency. And I wanted to show up and give two brief updates. The first one on Grace Street. We had our hydraulics team go out last week and look at some of the drainage that's a concern with us, especially at the intersection of Grace and James. And we are meeting with them this Thursday, day after tomorrow, to discuss what they found and put that into our plan. And within the next 2 weeks, we're going to have our survey folks out there, again, looking at Grace Street, but in particular Grace Street and James, the intersection there as well. Once we get that information back and hydraulics, we will continue working on our plan. In addition to that, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you will see some members of our specialty crew that are going to do this project out there, marking curb, gutter, sidewalks, things like that. So if you see some painting and things like that, that's what it's in reference to, identifying those sections that are going to be replaced. There will be additional, once we find out drainage issues and things like that, but you will start to see markings and such out there. The only other brief update is beginning next Wednesday, the 12th, we kick off our mowing season, so our contractors will be out throughout the counties mowing primaries and major secondaries, as well as our area headquarters, Smithfield and Windsor will be out as well, starting to do their secondary mowing process as well. So we're excited to get that kicked off as well. Is there any questions that I can answer on that, or any other concerns that you may have?
How's the Church Street Bridge project coming?
I will defer to our construction folks.
Well, I thought you were going to be the, anybody questions from the gentleman?
I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
Can you please explain to the public what hydraulics are?
So what they're doing, and the reason that we brought hydraulics out, is they help to not only look at the flow of water, but to help us determine the right correct sizes for pipes and things like that that we're going to install, so that we don't put something in there, just say, for example, a 15-inch cross pipe, that as soon as we put it in is going to be at capacity and is going to lead to flooding because it can't handle events and it backs up. So they go out, they look at the sizing, they look at the flow, they look at the, with the survey information that we have, they look at the flow, make sure everything is good, and then they help with determining the sizing, and they also make suggestions on whether they, it should be concrete pipe versus perhaps plastic pipe and things like that. So it's vital to get a good feed from hydraulics before we just go in there and throw pipe in. We, just as an aside, we typically use hydraulic information even when we're looking at cross pipes and things like that. If we have to go out and invest the resources to replace it, we want to make sure what we're putting back is the correct size and it's going to, help us down the road.
I know in the past that plastic pipe has been a disaster. Concrete pipes have been really the way to go. And the flow is different with corrugated. I do know that. So, I guess you guys got it figured out, but I want the public to understand what that is all about before you start. You talk about hydraulics, they don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So.
And I will say there's a great new plastic pipe that's on the market. It's an HDPE pipe. It's double-walled, so it gives us some strength to help with if we don't always have the right coverage, and it's smooth inside, so it does handle some additional flow. We're trying to get away from the old corrugated stuff that really cut down on.
Yeah, I know there's a factor of corrugated.
Yeah.
That slows the factor
Yeah.
down. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank
you
you,
for coming.
appreciate it, thank you.
Just a real quick one there, as far as Smithfield Station Bridge.
All right, good evening, Mayor, members of council. Quick update on Cypress Creek. I mean, as of now, we're moving forward. Everything has been going good so far. No issues. Probably in the next month and a half roughly, I think 2 months ago, you would have seen full closure to remove the beams for the first 3 spans. So in a month or a month and a half, you'll see a closure to put back the beams. We don't have the timeline set yet because we are in the process of procuring and prepping for that, so that's why we haven't released anything yet. So it is in the works. So once we have a date or time finalized, we'll again give you plenty of notice and coordinate with you all, and then put our releases and everything as usual. And it'll be a similar, a complete week closure. Last time we were able to get it done within a week. This time it's placing of the beams. Usually removing it's faster than placing them down because we had to have some precision in placing it down because it's huge. It weighs a lot, so we can't move it after we place it. So it might take a little bit longer, but it shouldn't take more than a week's closure. So that's what we're anticipating, and that's I think that's the main, I think the big item in the coming months. So it should be within the next, I want to say, month and a half, 2 months.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Ramesh? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is Isle of Wight County updates from Mr. Don Robertson. Good to have you here, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Bowman, members of council. It's good to be here. I am going to hopefully be very brief and just provide some updates from the county as to a few items that have come up in the last couple of weeks. The Board of Supervisors had their regular meeting on May 16th, and at that meeting they adopted a resolution to update our emergency operations plan. As you all probably are aware, we are into hurricane season. This is forecasted to be a very interesting hurricane season, and so our plans are updated just in time. But those plans do cover other things, and so typically we coordinate with Mr. Stallings and your staff on those major events that impact the county, and so we're glad to have that updated. In addition, we had a really interesting meeting, quite a few major items. One that is probably of particular interest to you and your citizens was the approval of a property approximately 250 acres located on Benz Grant Boulevard, commonly known as the Sweetgrass subdivision. So that project was approved by the board as a mixed-use planned development, which includes both senior housing as well as market rate housing. And so we will continue to work with those developers and with the community to move that project forward. In addition, much like you all, we were grappling with adoption of the county's fiscal year 24-25 operating and capital budgets. Our budget was adopted. Probably the major item of interest is the fact that we also adopted the tax rate ordinance, which impacts citizens such that the tax rate will increase from 71 cents per $100 value to 73 cents. Additionally, the county updated and increased its meals tax to create more of a level playing field as it relates to restaurants across the community. So ours will now be 6% instead of the 4% that it was previously. And with that, I think those are the major items that I wanted to make sure I touched on. But if you have questions, I'll be more than glad to attempt to answer them.
Any questions of Mr. Robertson by members of the council? Don, thanks for coming. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Next item we have is public comments. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on matters not on the agenda. Mr. Riddick, I've got 11, and the comments will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker, and the first person I have is Robbie Younger.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. My name is Robbie Younger, and I live on Farm Road, 19001 Farm Road. I'm speaking against the proposed $6 million tax, and this is my concern.
What $6 million tax are you talking about?
That the one that was in the newspaper.
There's no $6 million tax.
Proposed.
There is no $6 million tax being proposed.
Okay, expenditure.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
we haven't even gotten to that, but go
Okay.
ahead.
Oh, am I not speaking
No,
at the
go
right
ahead.
time? Okay.
No, go ahead.
These are just my concerns and that I would be against it. I used to have a building on Main Street, and I for about 20 years, and as all of us know, if you're in Smithfield, you pay town tax and city tax. So I think if that were to go through, that would just be more pressure on the taxpayers in town. And then if we ever decide to get another building downtown, that would be a concern for us. And presently, I do have a small retail shop in town. And again, if another tax would come, that would tighten everybody's pocketbook, and then that would affect also retail in town. And again, with the new buildings and everything happening, I think that money could be used better for infrastructure, for schools, for just all that's going on that's really going to be needed. And that's, with the bridge out and all that, because as a business person, there has been challenges to bring people in. So that's my concern. And if it does happen, and if it is a proposed tax, I would ask you not to vote for it. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Betty Clark. Ms. Clark?
Betty Clark, 120 North Church Street. Here we are again because of Mr. Luter. Does the town really need a $6 million bill hanging over its head? I don't think so. We do not need the extra tax burden that this $6 million would cost the people. And why should we pay for Mr. Luter to get richer? He wanted to take on this project, so he should foot the bill in its entirety. If he can't afford to do this, then he should not have started it. He could have spent a whole lot less money and helped us save the 300-year-old historic Pierceville. Sources near to him reported that he did not have the funds at the time. Fancy that. No wonder he wants the town to help pay for this project. The town did not have the funds also to help save Pierceville. They had to build new barns at Windsor Castle. So why does the town now think that they can take on a $6 million debt but not save our history? I don't know whether anyone remembers in the early 90s, Mr. Luter or Smithfield Foods, whichever, is reported to have blackmailed or tried to the town of Smithfield. He told, or it was rumored that he was going to take either portions of the business, the packing plant, or all of it and go to Smithfield, North Carolina. And obviously he's still here, so I guess the town did whatever he wanted to do. I know that this is a fact because my daughter Selah was in college in Raleigh at the time, and people harassed her terribly about it. They didn't want him there. Of course, he didn't go. But one thing I think we really need to think about is that a gift is not given with strings attached, and this gift has strings attached.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Mary Harris?
Hi, good evening. I'm Mary Harris. I live at 329 Grace Street in Smithfield. I, too, am going to comment on the proposed matching gift that Mr. Luter has suggested for a gift to the town of $6 million, with a match for $6 million. So let me begin. You only have to go to last month's meeting of the town council to see the importance of maintaining and judiciously using funds in our reserve fund, which is our general fund. All of you seem to support this type of financial strength that, as Mayor Bowman said at that meeting, other municipalities envy. So please keep what I just said in mind when I make the remainder of my comments. So when I read about the town possibly matching a $6 million gift from Mr. Luter, I became very concerned that we would consider approving such a match to a single individual on as many strings attached gift to the town. As was stated in the town council's last meeting, we have many priorities looming in our future as a town. A few that were mentioned were the Parks and Rec, Pinewood Heights Intermodal Park, town hall space, an aging infrastructure, investment in our staff for competitive salaries, and personnel needs such as police, fire, and a safety officer. But what was not mentioned were items listed as requirements for accepting the $6 million gift from Luter. And I'm going to quote from that letter directly. As stated in Mayor Bowman's letter to Mr. Luter, and I quote, "It is understood that the town of Smithfield will match dollar for dollar your donation and put the money toward 4 priorities of Luter III, co-locating the farmer's market within the Grange, adding a streetscape with trees and signage in the vicinity of the 57-acre Grange site, extending brick sidewalks to the Grange, and facilitating parking at the Grange for Main Street Baptist Church, located across the street. All of what is required are related to the Grange, which will benefit this developer. Again, none of these were mentioned as priorities in the meeting you had last month. Just going to point that out. As some of you know, I was the Director of Development at the William and Mary School of Business for 10 years. From my experience in the world of gifts, this is a highly restricted gift because of the statement I just read about what is understood as the 4 priorities of this gift. Even with statements that have been made, and I'll see if I can shorten this a bit, that these 4 priorities, once met, we could use the money the way we want to. We don't know how much those priorities would cost or whether there is even going to be any money left over once those expenses are achieved. When an individual puts conditions on a gift that enhance their personal, current, or future investment, this is not truly a gift. It is achieving their agenda, not ours. Now, if Mr. Luter wants to build all of his 4 priorities at his expense and then gift them to the town, it's a totally different scenario. This is such an obvious arm twisting by the Luter family, clearly stating, build all of these things in front of my development, and oh, by the way, move the market to my development too, if you accept my gift. Where is the town's choice, and more importantly, the citizens' choice in this offer? You as a council at the last meeting and on 5/7/24 highlighted the importance of maintaining the reserves we have and continuing them so as to provide us flexibility to achieve our town priorities. I previously mentioned to include continuing the important salaries of our staff and holding our tax rate at an acceptable level for citizens. Also, it would provide the ability for the town to address our aging infrastructure. Those are the reserves we have now. There are only 2 sources for the $6 million match.
45 seconds.
That is the town's reserve or borrowing it. Both are bad choices at this point. In fact, this match would take 2/3 of our reserve fund, and borrowing puts us town in debt. Reasonableness must be applied. Like other things, once it is done, it is hard not to take it back. The reserve is maintained and utilized for the betterment of the entire town and will help us keep the wolves from the door of Smithfield. So I would ask you, when this comes up for consideration, that it be denied and that we don't accept this type of a gift from any individual with this kind of a string attached situation. Thank you.
Leah Walker. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Leah Walker. I live at 303 Red Point Drive in Smithfield. In Mayor Bowman's letter to Town Council, he noted he would bring the offer from Mr. Luter up that Ms. Harris just discussed under Town Council comments, not under new business. If it were not for the Smithfield Times reporting, your citizens would not had a clue about or been able to comment on a discussion or vote by this Town Council of what would end up being a requirement for $6 million in matching taxpayer funds. $6 million added to the previous town commitment of $1.4 million towards the Grange represents a commitment for every Smithfield household of over $2,176 for the Grange development. This to citizens who have experienced an average of property assessments rising 34% and a 2% in county tax rate. To allocate approximately $9 million of citizen taxpayer dollars, that's the $7.4 million with this $6 million match and the $1.4 million from the county, towards a for-profit development seems to be an inappropriate use of taxpayer funds. I ask you to not approve this use of taxpayer dollars and in the future to ensure transparency in all of these types of discussions going forward. Thank you.
Darren Cutler.
Good evening. I am Darren Cutler of 102 Commerce Street, and also, I'm also not from California. Did serve there as ordered by the federal government. I'm from Mount Airy, North Carolina. Moved here about a year and a half ago. I'm going to touch briefly on 2 areas. Some of these interesting revelations in the Smithfield Times recently: communications, travel, tax money grab disguised as a donation. $6 million, that's quite a bit. $700, and if I can see a show of hands of anyone in the room, I doubt I will, that has $700 burning a hole in their pocket that they don't need in these pressing times. Okay, what is it going to next say? Keep your hands up if you're going to give that $700 to a multimillionaire developer. That's the cost for the 8,500 men, women, and children individually in Smithfield to give away $6 million of our tax dollars. And what's that for? I think it's been touched on. Landscaping, sidewalks, signage, access on Sunday mornings to a parking lot. But these are all things this development must have by whoever develops the property. Another 2.8 million, we're up to 8.8 million going to the developer. I think it's been said before by members of the council that no public dollars would be given to private institutions for development. Our town budget, just over $11 million this year, I think was reviewed at the last meeting, and Mr. Stallings, correct me if I'm wrong. So would we like to give away more than half of our town's budget to someone who is already profiting off of this property and development and is already a millionaire? I think we don't. Would we want to give away half of our emergency fund? Again, as touched on previously, no, we should not. Change gears a little bit to my second topic, ethics, defined by the Oxford Dictionary as moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. It seems there's some unethical behavior, perhaps, clouding this council. I would encourage a close reading of the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act. Mayor, you're great friends, as you said in your letter, with Joe Luter III since 1988, so much so that you go there for vacations. Are there ethical questions surrounding this? Perhaps. I'm aware, as a career government employee, we have our share of training on taking gifts. And per the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act, including lodging and meals, that if you receive that from an individual over $100, that's a code of Virginia ethics violation. I would also go a little farther and argue that if a council member is such good friends with the wealthy developer that wants to develop in the town that he governs, it would be prudent to recuse yourself from any past or future votes on anything related to the Grange, much like Councilman Pack did. Now, there wasn't a lot of time to prepare for this, secretive nature of the trip, and reading the Virginia Code of Ethics is terribly boring and exhausting, as you can imagine. But it seems that the council should have gone a step further. The Virginia Code of Ethics also requires, and I quote, "The officer or employee shall be prohibited from, 1, attending any portion of a closed meeting authorized by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act when the matter in which he has a personal interest is discussed, and 2, prohibits discussing the matter in which he has a personal interest with other governmental officers, employees at any time." I don't believe this has taken place in the past, despite recusal from voting, and should take place in the future. If this is going to go If this is going to go before the council, I believe the mayor and Councilman Pack must recuse themselves from the vote and any open or closed discussion about these funds, as you're now an agent of the developer. But it would be much easier to listen to the people of this wonderful town and just give that money back to Mr. Luter, as this is not a gift. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Harris.
Good evening, all. My name is Bill Harris. I live at 329 Grace Street in Smithfield. As most of you know, this is not my first time to take advantage of public comments to share my views on the issues that of concern to myself and other citizens in Smithfield. I remain committed to supporting reasonable, slow growth, low density residential development within the town of Smithfield, and believe also, as I've stated many times before, that it's way past time for town council to develop a master plan that both encourages and manages responsible retail and commercial development within the town limits as well. For the town of Smithfield, as we know it now, to continue to exist and survive, I believe town council must be more proactive and less reactive in regards to managing development and providing necessary services for all of our citizens. It's far past time for the council to do a better job of seeking citizen input and giving that citizen input the weight that it deserves during policy deliberations. Tonight's a good example. Most of us are here tonight because of the recent news that Mr. Joe Luter III has offered to gift the town of Smithfield $6 million, providing the town council commits to matching the $6 million gift dollar for dollar, and also agrees to spend that combined money to pay for 4 very specific projects that are, in fact, part and parcel of the development project known as 10 Grange. Were this $6 million truly a gift, I'd be among the many dancing the streets of Smithfield. But a gift like this, a gift of this nature, that requires a matching amount from the town council is not a gift, but instead, and let's be clear on this, a clever way to entangle the town council and the citizens of Smithfield into a private-public partnership, which, if agreed to by town council, will result in a significant amount of taxpayer money being used to support the development at 10 Grange. I believe it's time for town council to formally adopt a resolution that clearly states that the town of Smithfield will not provide any developer taxpayer funds to help build a profit-making development. Virtually every one of you at the table has made public statements that you are against spending public funds to support private development. Make tonight your night to make that public policy now. And let us be clear, too, so that we can avoid the dance of using vocabulary to sidestep major issues. Paying for shared infrastructure or paying for any part of the development that is a responsibility of the developer is absolutely contributing public money to private development. Also important to remember, the town of Smithfield doesn't have any money of its own. The money in our treasury and our surplus is a result of revenues generated primarily through the collection of taxes and fees from the citizens of the town of Smithfield. This council, and previous councils as well, have done a really good job with fiscal management and responsibility, and it would be an absolute shame if the current town council votes to raid the surplus to provide what really amounts to special treatment for the developers at 10 Grange. In the mayor's response to a question posed by Smithfield Times as to how the town might come up with $6 million of matching funds, the mayor opined that there are at least 2 ways to go to gain that $6 million. He suggested that the town council could use the surplus, or the town could take out a loan. At last month's town council and committee meetings, the mayor and others went to great lengths to talk about the importance of using our surplus to take care of problems long overdue and things that need to be addressed and updated right here in the town right now. Is it really the right thing to do now to continue to delay addressing necessary updates so that we can build a wall and plant some trees that admittedly will make the corner of 10 and Main look better, but will have the principal impact of enhancing the immediate and long-term value of the development at 10 Grange? And taking out a loan for $6 million on the benefit or on the behalf of the citizens, if the town really has any interest in seeing what kind of support the town citizens might give to that, then put a referendum on the November 5th ballot asking our citizens to give the town council permission to borrow $6 million so that we can satisfy the matching demands of a $6 million gift. I'm pretty sure that we all know how that referendum would go. I hope tonight that you remain focused not on the process that got us here tonight, but on the question of
Your time's expired.
whether or not we should actually engage in accepting this gift. I would love to see a motion tonight to reject in principle, but at the very least, I believe the council should put any type of approval on hold until a great deal more investigation has been done. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Heidi Schwartz. Heidi Schwartz.
Hi, Heidi Schwartz, 18545 Longview, Windsor. Thank you, Smithfield Town Council. As a non-citizen of Smithfield Town, yet a citizen of Isle-White County, whose children have gone through Smithfield schools, I shop Smithfield stores, I attend Smithfield functions, and I call Smithfield home. I'm active in the county. My home sits in Smithfield, even though my mailbox sits across the street in Windsor, giving me that Windsor address. but I come here tonight. Without taxpayer dollars, which includes county-approved money, the restaurants housed in the farmers market and hotels can't be built for the Grange. It is not missed on citizens, both in the town of Smithfield and those in Isle-White County, that the most vocal members of Smithfield Town Council will be owning entities and profiting from the Grange. Now, with the newest offer, not a gift, of $6 million, thus has strings attached, and a gift does not come with strings. It is crucial and ethical that we see members of this board start to recuse themselves with any votes to accept money that has already actually been accepted, or relationships are had when the opportunity to benefit also comes to play. This includes profits of any types in the past or future. Regular, everyday citizens are getting pretty tired of seeing missing information on economic statements year after year. Thank you.
Teresa Mulhern.
Teresa Mulhern, 206 Washington Street, Smithfield. I've been to so many of these meetings with discussions about money. So the last time we spoke about $6 million expense of tax money for the Grange, it was because a new sewer needed to be added, et cetera. So we're back in that ballpark again, same $6 million. Many of the same council members who said, no, we will not spend tax money for that private development. I want to remind you that for the sidewalk, we entered into agreement to spend exactly $200,000. That's it on the sidewalk, and we gave away our property that was gifted to us from Isle of Wight, one parcel of which, 0.14 acres, is currently for sale for $125,000. That's the slap in our face for doing that. The Code of Virginia says a municipal corporation may accept or refuse gifts. A municipal corporation, not a person. For the town of Smithfield is indeed a municipal corporation. The current charter on file at the state is from 1952. The duties of the mayor do not include accepting $1 million from a private donor. As there's a conflict of interest in the mayor's office, I'm asking, please, Madam Vice Mayor, begin an investigation immediately related to the receipt of the money. When did it come? Who received it? Who deposited it? What date? What time? How did it get here? Was anybody else involved in any call, etc.? Was anybody else in Florida? Teams meeting, whether employed by the town or town council. So that's one piece of what I have for you. So, and where did I get that statement from? The mayor is chosen from the council by its membership. He shall act as the presiding officer and shall have no other power except as a member of the council as specifically set forth in this charter. I do think the receipt of the bribe of $1 million was unethical.
Be very careful, Ms. Mulhern. That's
my opinion.
Be very careful with what you say in a public meeting about alleging crimes. Be very careful. You've just been.
Okay.
I'm warning you.
Yes, sir.
I'm admonishing you, and I'm giving you some very good advice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. My concern, it was my concern, as opposed to I don't know for a fact that it was. And I'm asking from our own standard of prudence applied to investment in the town's portfolio. So please use the standard of prudence in making your decision as to whether we expend $6 million of tax money. We're raising sewer rates, we're raising other rates. We raised taxes a few years ago because we didn't have money. All of a sudden, we have $6 million to spend. This doesn't make sense to me. Thank you, sir.
Ken Wagar.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. My name is Ken Wager. I live in Waterford Oaks in the town of Smithfield. Just some concerns about the Grange. Just a couple of points here with questions. Why can't the Grange be built without local government funds? Why not let the marketplace determine whether it stands on its own or falls? To my knowledge, the Smithfield ham and other local hams stood on their own in the marketplace for the last 100+ years. Why would this body vote yes to up to $6 million of an expense to help the Grange be built if the public is against it? Our local taxes will likely rise by a vote of this body in the future as a direct result of this expense by the town. Has not the unprecedented inflation over the last 3 years been enough? Why would this body vote to burden us to taking more money out of our purses and wallets? Do the right thing and vote no to any public funds for the Grange. If it's such a great idea, let the marketplace decide. Finally, no tax rate hike for the budget, no tax increase. Thank you.
Dr. Lanny Henson?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of Town Council. My name is Lanny Henson. I live at 345 Main Street. And I'd proudly like to announce that this year, in December, my wife and I have lived there for 50 years. I'm very proud of that. We moved here that 50 years ago to enjoy what everybody is now moving to Smithfield to enjoy, and that is what was peace and tranquility and escape from municipal congestion and the pleasures of just living in a wonderful town that had such a rich history. And we don't want to lose that. So I know that first, I'd like to thank you, members of council, for your service, because we all want the same thing, right? We want the town of Smithfield to prosper, our citizens to enjoy a really rich way of life, and we don't want to lose that. So those of us who are taxpayers and have the privilege of paying taxes in the town and the county do it because it's worth it to live here. But asking or taking taxpayer money to supplement this offer, it makes, I would say that a lot of taxpayers would say, well, what's in it for me? And somebody's going to make money with this development, but I don't think it's going to be the taxpayer. So I'd ask you not to pursue this endeavor and give it careful consideration, because the people that elected you entrusted you with doing what's best for the citizens and the town.
Thank you. Brandon Henderson?
Good evening, Mayor and ladies and gentlemen of the Town Council. My name is Brandon Henderson. I live at 6 Poplar Court, Smithfield, Virginia. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. There have been some really great comments tonight, and it's really encouraging to hear how so many people care about the town of Smithfield. So I bet you can guess what I'm going to speak here about tonight, so I'll keep it short. I stand here before you to address a serious concern regarding the proposed allocation of $6 million in taxpayer money to match a donation from Mr. Joe Luter for the farmers market and related projects towards the Grange. My goal is to ensure that our town funds are used transparently, responsibly, and in the best interest of all of our residents. I urge the Town Council to reconsider this proposal and ensure that any decision involving taxpayer funds is made with complete transparency, thorough economic analysis, and significant public input. Our community deserves to have its interests prioritized above all else, especially developers. I know there are I know that there are many here that probably don't feel comfortable speaking or chose not to speak, so I'd ask anyone here to stand with me if you are against additional taxpayer funds being allocated towards this business development. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have signed up. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor, Town Council members, Marty Womack, 204 Edgewood Drive. I don't have anything written down. Based on the news, this could be perceived as trying to buy political influence / corruption. It is time for this stuff to stop in the town of Smithfield.
Thank you, Marty. State your name for the record, please, sir.
My name is Ross Younger, 19001 Farm Road. You probably know, everyone knows what we're talking about here tonight, the $6 million. My main concern is the appearance of impropriety of how this has come about. If this is supposed to be voted on tonight, there should have been an earlier public hearing on this so the town would have, citizens would have some input. It says in the Bible to abstain from the appearance of impropriety. That's one of the reasons, my wife spoke earlier, one of the reasons we decided to sell our building in town is the appearance of, it always seemed that people on the council were scratching each other's back, and sometimes a lot lower than the back, more like the wallet. So we sold our business. She still has a small booth in one of the stores here. But as stated earlier, it's time for the council to be transparent in what they're doing and give the citizens time to react to stuff instead of rushing to do stuff. Because it's been my experience in business, if someone's rushing you to do something, it's usually not for your benefit, it's usually for theirs. So I ask the council to take their time, think about this before they commit to anything in matching $6 million. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Fabsick Swartz, and I am from, I live by Fort Boykin on Mortgage Beach Road. And I just wanted to say that I run an international nonprofit. And my behavior and my choices and my board of directors' choices are subject to all the members of our organization. And nonprofits are public entities just as you are, and everything is above board, or we don't last. We don't get donations, we don't get grants, we don't survive. And I don't know enough about this organization to know what the history is. I've only lived here 3 years. But I think it's really important that you think about what the people want, what in my case, my members here, it's your citizens. What does it look like to the outside world? Because perception is reality, and that's God's honest truth. And if it's not done right, and it's not done well, and it's not done above board, if you lose sleep, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, then it isn't the right choice to do. So I implore you as a nonprofit professional who feels that it's a calling, not just a job, that your jobs are callings and not just jobs. You should be thinking about serving the needs and the desires and the betterment of our community. And I hope you will implore to think about this. As someone who has, my colleague back there apparently, has raised a lot of money for good causes, this isn't a good cause. This has definite stink to it. And really think about this and how you will feel sleeping tonight, sleeping tomorrow night, talking to you, seeing your fellow people in church or in your community forums, and how you would feel if you were sitting on this side of the road line. Thank you so much for hearing me.
That's all I have listed. What else before we go to council? Come forward, state your name, please, for the record.
Mike Swartz, 17552 Mortgage Beach Road. It's going to be real quick, but I want to ask you, it's kind of a obligatory ask. What is the motivation for doing this? Clearly, you can see that anybody that gets up here and opposes this measure gets an applause afterwards.
I'm going to explain to you the motivation behind it when I get a chance
Go ahead.
to speak. No, I'm not yet. I'm not.
Okay.
Y'all have finished.
But I don't understand the motivation because I see so much antipathy towards what is about to happen. And nobody here wants it to happen. You know, I just don't understand the motivation. So that's all I wanted to ask.
Thank you. Now it's time for council comments. Any council comments before I go? Mr. Collins?
Do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
First off, let me explain. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, and the mayor's going to, I think, explain this. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? Yes. So, last week I received an email from the mayor defining this and just giving it amongst the council members, just a heads up, this is going to be talked about at the next council meeting. There was never talk about a vote. There was never talk about anything that was going on. There never talk about any of that stuff. I was on travel, then I learned that this was somehow given to the press. I think whoever gave that to the press is sitting at this table. I am new to this, and I'm sorry that person did that, because it's a misunderstanding that gets out there that people are now, I've been called not transparent, question my ethics, question my purpose, question all this stuff that I don't appreciate, and I don't appreciate the person that gave it. It really burns a trust in this body that we are supposed to serve you. So, having said all that, some of the stuff that it did, it took away the mayor's ability to explain what is going on. When I read the letter, I read it completely different. So the farmers market, the four things that were talked about, the farmers market will be correlated with the Grange project. No dollars there. A streetscape with trees and appropriate signage will be erected in the area of Main Street and the bypass. I'm curious where that is. Is it next to the Grange? Well, then I'm going to question why are we doing it? Is it on the outside property? It's going to beautify the area. No dollars there. The brick sidewalk will be placed from the terminus of Gray Street and the length of the frontage of the Grange project. I'm assuming that's going to be near the Grange, but is there a right-of-way that we're going on? I don't know. All these questions I don't have, so I don't know if it's going to be. I mean, obviously, if you put your feet on the ground, you're going to walk in front of the Grange, so yes, you can say it's going towards the Grange, but is it on that property, or is it going to beautify that side of the area? Main Street Baptist Church will have access to the parking area fronting the garage. No money there. So I don't understand where people are saying that we're going to use taxpayer money. I have a question of 2 and 3. Those do have money, obviously, attached to it. What are the costs? So I'm a business owner. What's the cost-benefit analysis of this? Somebody gracefully, I'm not from Smithfield, been lived here almost 10 years, but I'm not from here, but somebody gracefully gave a town $6 million, or I'm sorry, I don't know what the right word is going to present $6 million to the town. I've lived all over the world, never heard of that. But from a business perspective, if cost-benefit analysis of 2 and 3 is minimal, but from a taxpayer and a citizen of Smithfield, if we can execute projects at 50 cents on the dollar in today's world, why not? Why not? Why not at least consider it and see if it does make sense? If it doesn't, then yes, it makes no sense and is not worth our consideration. I don't see this as a tax, not yet, because we have to see what it all is and then how it all comes out and what is the benefit of it. And what projects do we get out? Is there infrastructure in the town or things that we can improve in the town first on top of this if 2 and 3 are a minimal cost? I just have no idea. So there's a lot of questions there. But the whole point of it is getting out in print first with the misunderstanding and the misrepresentation that we're doing something not transparent or somehow unethical, absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. At least this person hasn't done it. Nobody's contacted me, and I don't think anybody else on this body would do that as well. But leaking it to the press is just very, very gut-wrenching. And I say leaking because it's not a secrecy thing or let's hold it back or anything like that. No, it's just a matter of let's get our questions answered before present it, and then we somehow present it a little more intelligently than just throwing it out and people assuming that there's going to be a $6 million tax and we're going to use all the reserves or we're going to go get a loan with no benefits to the town and 100% benefit to the Luter family at the Grange. It's just very, very bothersome that somebody would do this on this body. Mayor, I could go on, but I'm not going to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you. For this, no. Anyone else at this time?
I'd like to say something.
Madam Vice Mayor?
First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Collins for saying something. But I also like to admit that this situation could have probably been handled in a better way. But I do believe that it was genuinely and honestly handled by the mayor in which he thought was the right manner. But as a council, we have not had the opportunity to even discuss the email and the attachment that was sent to us. And I need some clarification to know what Mr. Luter's expectations are. Do they fall in line with our expectations? Unless we can come to some clarification for exactly what the funds are going to be used for, I'm going to be hard pressed to be able to support this donation. There's going to have to be clear delineation of funds being injected into anything as far as the Grange is concerned. Because other than the $1.4 million injection into the farmer's market, I don't think the town of Smithfield or town council has committed to any funding for the Grange project. Every first Sunday of the month at my church, when we have communion, we read our church covenant, and it says, a portion of it, in case of difference of opinion in the church, in this particular case, I'm saying on the council, we will strive to avoid a contentious spirit, and if we cannot unanimously agree, we will cheerfully recognize the right of the majority to govern. I think the purpose of the donation as it stands right now, without further discussion, and clearly knowing what Mr. Luter wants, is still murky. And I'm not in a position to either vote for the donation or not vote, well, to vote to accept the donation. But what I'm most concerned about is the leakage of the email to the Smithfield Times and seeing it posted on social media, which has caused the dissension here tonight when some of the statements that have been made, a lack of transparency, and transparency seems to be the buzzword for the last election that we had. And I've gotten to the point that, yes, I am disappointed. However, I've also gotten to the point that if there is something that you're making a general statement about, if I have not been transparent in something or dishonest or not ethical, I want you to come to me and tell me. But the most alarming thing is that I'm not trusting everybody that I serve with on council now. And if we can't find a way to reconcile that and come to some type of agreement where we can move forward, because ultimately all of our goals should be the betterment of our community and to serve the citizens here. But if we can't find a way to kiss and make up, or whatever you want to call it, then I'm no longer going to serve on this town council. The damage has been done, and I am hopeful that we can find a way to work through this and move forward. I will tell you, we've been accused of a lot of things. One thing that Jim Collins did share with me in a conversation that we had of all the negative talks that have taken place, and he says since he's taken this seat, he don't see any of that. And what I'm doing tonight is urging you. We have an election coming up in November. You still have time to gather signatures for your petitions, and I would urge you to run for town council and sit in one of these seats and see how the decisions are made. We have 4 positions that are open this November, And more than likely, 2 years from now, there are going to be 4 more positions. So I highly urge you to run for an elected position. I will tell you that this is my fifth and a half year, and I will tell you, sitting here is not for the faint.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor.
I have a comment.
Mr. Gibbs?
I echo the sentiments of the Vice Mayor and Councilman Collins. I'm disappointed that someone would leak information. I'm disappointed that someone would leak information. But someone said, quoted Thessalonians 5:22, it said we should abstain from the appearance of evil. Exodus 20:16 says, thou shalt not bear false witness against our neighbor. I heard a lot of accusations tonight that were not true. The Bible said, in all you get an understanding. And so before we start spouting and talking, get an understanding.
Further comments?
I may be a little bit naive, but I'm going to take a little bit different approach from what you've heard from the other council members. First of all, this is the first time I've heard that the information was leaked. I can assure you it wasn't me, so we're starting to narrow it down. I have no idea. It's the first time I've heard of it. But we heard a lot of very good information, and I don't think what's out there is too murky. Yes, we do need to keep talking about it. But I will tell you, a gift is a gift, and I don't see this as a gift because of everything what these people said. Next week's my wife's birthday. I'm thinking about getting her a bike. Do I give her a bike and say, hey, in return, I want a bike? No, you don't do that. And I don't want to make light of the situation, but this is a very, very serious matter, and we've only heard about it last Thursday. And we're going to need a lot more dialogue, and we really need to listen to these people. So I'm done, Mayor.
Well,
my Mayor? Just real quick, I just need to jump on something that Vice Mayor said, because I am new here, and I will tell everybody that's here and listening, I have not had an an inappropriate conversation with anybody here. These are professionals sitting up here, and they're serving the town, and every single person up here has the one goal of keeping the town the best town possible. They don't make decisions that I've known for personal gain or that type of stuff. We live here. There is personal influence and things that go on, so we're here. But I speak highly of everyone up here, that all the accusations, the constant transparency, then you didn't come to a meeting because we talked about it. So the transparency's there. The decisions are not, the sausage may be hard to believe, but the decisions are not closed door by any means. So I could go on with that, but I appreciate serving with everybody up here. And other than what happened with this email, which just, I'm telling you, irks me to no end, I have never had any issue with anybody up here. They're all professionals. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, where to start? I could go on as far as those accusing me of ethical violations, asking for investigations of my character and credibility, Ms. Mulheron. But I can assure you, any funds that have been transferred whatsoever, and there have been up to this day, $4 million has been transferred into the account of Smithfield, town of Smithfield, and it's been handled by the treasurer, it's been handled by the town manager. The only thing I did was give the information necessary in order to assure that those funds were safely and securely transferred. So I really, I could rant and rave about how I really don't like being talked about like that, but after being a police officer for 40-some years, one that stood on witness stands many, many hours and where people's fate hung in the balance of whether they went to the state penitentiary or not, by me telling the truth, I could go on and on about that. And the lady that was back there that wanted to give me a lecture about ethics and how things are supposed to be done, it's lost on me, quite honestly, because quite honestly, I could teach you probably more about ethics than you ever thought about ethics. But anyway, let me just tell you the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, so that you can get it, and why I really wanted this to get out to everyone in a consistent manner without having things be spun up, distorted, misunderstood, whatever you want to call it. Make no mistake, if you can sit here and tell me this, there are still a number of you that aren't really concerned about what went on as far as these emails I'm going to read. You're concerned about the fact that you're still, that the Grange is, as a development, as far as the zoning was occurred, or zoning that occurred has been approved. It's still heartburn in a lot of your stomachs, and that's why you're here tonight, a significant part. I call it like it is, and I have done it all my life, and that's just the way it is. But let me just read you a couple of things. First is the email that I sent to members of council, the town attorney, and the town manager on Wednesday, May 29th at 4:51 p.m. Good afternoon, fellow council members. 2 weeks ago, I was informed that Mr. Joseph Luter III wished to see me. This is the same Joseph Luter III that, by the way, what y'all left out a lot of is how much he has done for this town and worked and done the right thing for the town. But more times than not, Mr. Luter, I think, came from a principled background where if he's going to give money, he expects someone else to have skin in the game. Somebody used the example about the bicycle. I tell you what, if I went to buy a bicycle for my wife and the guy says, by the way, would you like to have one that's 50% off? Would you consider taking that? You may be thinking a little bit differently. Last week, I purchased an airplane ticket round trip to Palm Beach, Florida to see Mr. Luter. The ticket was purchased out of my personal finances, and not a cent of town money was expended during the trip. As a matter of full disclosure, Mr. Luter's been a friend of mine since 1988 or so. I spent 2 days at Mr. Luter's residence. During that time, we discussed a number of issues. However, the Grange development was not on the agenda. On May 22nd, Mr. Luter advised me that he wanted to donate to the town $6 million. I can assure you I did not ask for 1 cent. This was spontaneous and a surprise to me. The conditions of the contribution are outlined in the attached letter, which I will read shortly. The reason I have not advised you sooner is because I was waiting for the contribution to be deposited into the town account. Today, $1 million of the $6 million was deposited in the town's account. Mr. Luter insisted that the money be transferred forthwith due to the fact that he is in serious health condition. The letter I sent outlines that I am fully aware, and so is he, that the council will have the final say on any arrangement. I intend to apprise in open session the council, the public of this occurrence during council comments on June 4. I want this entire encounter to be open with no innuendo of impropriety. Bottom line is Mr. Luter wanted to donate to the town he loves. As you know, as mayor, I do not make motions, so the ball will be in your proverbial courts to make final disposition. I welcome you to call if you have any further questions, and I will be sending a text to each of you asking you to check your email forthwith. That was the email to council. The email to Mr. Joseph W. Luter III in Palm Beach, Florida. Dear Joe, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your generous gift to the town of Smithfield as well as the hospitality during my visit. I enjoyed talking about Smithfield and all you have done with the town, and obviously that you care very much for. Per our discussion, upon the arrival of the $6 million you have offered to donate, I will advise the Smithfield Town Council of the terms that you have placed on the donation specifically. The farmers market will be co-located with the Grange project. That's no surprise. That's been the plan the entire time. A streetscape with trees and appropriate signage will be erected in the area of Main Street and the bypass. That long area that goes in front of where the little supermarket was, which is totally barren now, would have a wall similar to what is in front of St. Luke's or right out here in front of Smithfield Center with a welcoming sign with street lights and trees to make it a welcoming area to the western part of the town of Smithfield as you enter the historic district. The brick sidewalk will be placed from the terminus of Gray Street, the length of the frontage of the Grange project. That street sidewalk has been in process long before this discussion. Main Street Baptist Church, Madam Vice Mayor, he specifically wanted to make sure that Main Street Baptist Church had access to the parking lot during the time of special events and church services. He made specifics to make sure that that occurred. It is also understood that the town of Smithfield will match dollar for dollar your donation, and once the above projects are accomplished, we are free to utilize the remaining funds for the overall betterment of the town, but your preference is that we work to complete, as much as practicable, the master plan at the Joseph W. Luter Jr. Sports Complex. Y'all may remember we've been discussing the maintenance facility that needs to be built. This will provide 50% of that in addition to any other thing. It is further understood that should the town decide not to allocate the entire $6 million, the amount that we choose not to match will be subtracted from your donation, and that amount will be refunded to your wife, Mrs. Karen Luter. Again, the town thanks you for this generous offer, and I look forward to sharing this information with my fellow council members. I will keep you apprised of any developments. I don't know how much open I could be, how much straightforward I could be, how much improprieties contained in that. This wall was going to go on the right-of-way. Yes, it happened to be likely in front of the Grange if that ever comes to fruition. Who knows if it will, who knows if it won't. But it will certainly provide a beautiful corridor as you enter into the historic district of the town of Smithfield. A sign similar to the one that's right up there across from Anna's now, of that brick configuration, is what I had envisioned, but I'm not a civil engineer and architect. That would be in somebody else's ideas, yours, whatever y'all want. As I said, money is not Steve Bowman's money. It's the people's money. He's giving it to the people, and you can say what you want. 50 cents on the dollar, if you had to borrow $6 million, is, to me, I think, somewhat of a gift. It's not shoved down our throats in any shape, form, or fashion. If the council decides, again, without me voting, because I'm not the mayor, that they want to send every dime of it back and give away 50 cents on the dollar of $6 million that could do capital projects that we've got a list of, I would presume, go right ahead. That's what you've elected these folks for. Tell them that's what you want to do. Tell them you want to go ahead and give it back. But when you start talking about ethics and start talking about certain laws or whatever, and by the way, I do believe I have till the end of the year when I fill out my financial disclosure to disclose any monies that was spent down there. Correct? You know the law so well, tell me. Correct? It is correct, because I have to fill out a financial disclosure form every January, and I do so, and it's open to Freedom of Information records. Ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you, if you know me and have known me for 40-some years as a town police officer that walked your streets and kept your streets safe and known what I do when I go to court and how I've conducted myself, anybody that's throwing ethical bombs at me is misplaced and misdirected. That's all I've got to say. I've had enough of it. I thought what I was doing was correct. I went down to see a man who wanted to donate money to the town that he loved. And what do we get? We get this kind of reaction. The good news is there are others out there that don't feel like you do. I'm finished. Thank you very much for the time. And thank you, Ms. Jackson. Any other council comments? They're seeing none. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Item C1. Proceed, please.
I have C1 and C2. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a motion to award sanitary sewer rehabilitation services contract to Prism Contracting and Tri-State Utilities. We've decided to go with two different contractors this time because they both have strong points in different areas, and it suits the need of the town in a better way. The second one I have is a motion to award a contract for underground utilities services to Lewis Construction of Virginia. We've been very satisfied with their work. I know them personally, and they really have an interest in doing the right thing for the town and have done a great job in the past.
Item C3, Mr. Pack.
Yes, sir. We have a motion to approve the personnel policy updates that was presented to us at our finance committee meeting. And also item C4, we have 5 invoices tonight in excess of $20,000, which require council authorization. The first is to National Roofing Corps for the Town Hall roof replacement at $28,794. Side note, this came in significantly under budget. I'm happy to see that because it doesn't happen real often. B, Epps Building Corp. at new flooring at our police department, $55,600. C was to Colonial Trucks for Parks and Rec truck, which is $49,680. And we also got one from Barton Ford for Public Works at $49,800. Both of those were expended in our budget. And finally, we have a invoice here tonight from Athens Building Corp. from the Windsor Castle Boardwalk Restoration Project. This is $72,492.63. Ms. King, I believe we had 2 other invoices on there, and my agenda is not showing that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. My computer flipped in the middle. We have 2 invoices here tonight for Lewis Construction of Virginia. One is for the a washout we had of $23,700. And finally, if you guys have been down Great Spring Road, you'll see that those homes have been demolished and destroyed, and the ground brought back so we can plan on it, and they will not be built on again, ever. That's the J&J Clearing and Demolition, $44,000. Those families were relocated. Mr. Mayor, that's all we have in invoices and the consent agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pack. Any questions by members of council on the consent agenda items? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Mr. Gibbs to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Butler. Further discussion? You call the question, please, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mayor Bowman?
Yes. We now have the action section. We have, want to do the intro into that, Mr. Stallings, for me, and then Tammy? Go ahead, or Tammy, whoever's going to do it.
The first is a special use permit at 219 Battery Park Road.
Yes, thank you.
Proceed,
Good
please.
evening. The applicant is seeking approval to utilize 5 existing shipping containers as accessory structures at 219 Battery Park Road. Due to our recent changes in our zoning ordinance, a special use permit is required. The applicant is in the process of removing 3 of those containers, probably within the next 6 months. It is unknown how long these containers have been present on the property. However, approval would bring this property into compliance. Negatives, this proposed use is not a by right use, and it does require an SUP. This application was favorably recommended at the May 14th Planning Commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Clary at this time? This is a public hearing. Anyone wish to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Matters before the commission or for the council for discussion and action.
And I make a motion that the special use permit on 219 Battery Park Road be granted.
Motion made by Councilman Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Gibbs. Further discussion? You call the question, please, ma'am?
Mr. Smith? Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. Next item is public hearing, amendments and revisions, Smithfield zoning ordinance.
Yes, thank you. The first one is an amendment to Article 2, P16 and 17. This would be at the Tuesday, February 13th Planning Commission meeting. Town staff was tasked with updating shipping container ordinance. This was to address temporary construction containers. So we did propose including shipping containers in item 16 as construction debris containers. This would only be for construction activities. And then for item 17, we would include for construction activities in the definition of shipping, in the regulation of shipping containers. This would allow for temporary shipping containers that are associated with a construction project while active construction is occurring. For example, with the VDOT Bridge project, we did have the shipping containers that came out, the mobile mini for the VDOT offices. We then required them to go through the special use permit procedure in order to properly permit them. Because we included it as construction debris containers, they would no longer need to obtain a special use permit. They would be administratively permitted during those construction activities. This application was favorably recommended by the Planning Commission at the May 14th Planning Commission meeting. The second amendment would be to Article 2V14 and Article 11I4. This was at the request of the Planning Commission. This is to remove the extra 25-foot setback that our zoning ordinance currently requires. This would be in addition to the 100-foot RPA setback that's currently enforced. This would allow new construction all the way up to that 100-foot RPA setback without requiring the additional rear 25-foot setback buffer. We would be repealing both of these sections and removing that extra 25 feet. Thirdly, at the direction of the Planning Commission, we are adding the following language to Article 3RJ3G. This is to allow improvements to existing gravel and other similar materials. That would be permissible within the entrance corridor. However, the parcel is required to be in compliance and remain in compliance with landscaping and paving requirements of this ordinance once improvements other than landscaping and interior renovation are made during a rolling 5-year period, which constitutes 50% or more of the structure's assessed value. That language would also be included in Article B6. This would allow applicants to expand gravel parking lot areas. For example, the church on Battery Park Road that just came for the special use permit, they already had a gravel parking lot and they were looking at extending the gravel parking lot to accommodate additional spaces. They were required to obtain a special use permit from town council in order to do this. Now they would be able to expand that gravel material, provided they weren't increasing and making improvements to the structure's assessed value at more than 50% on a 5-year period. And lastly, we have our zoning amendment to Article 10, which is our sign ordinance. We did add clarifying language in sections A, B, and C. We removed vehicle signs from temporary signs and added yard signs to the definition of temporary signs. We did remove signs legible from the right-of-way from the window sign definition. We also included a definition for opaque. We reduced window signs from 50% to 10%, and they are not to be illuminated. We updated external illumination standards with lumens. We updated operational signs under exempt signage to 4 square feet in size and removed flashing and animated. We updated the temporary signage to 3 months and not located in a right-of-way. And then we removed the exemption for the personal expression signs. We removed the exemptions for temporary signs, now requiring a permit for all temporary signs. We are prohibiting window signage from being internally or externally illuminated. Prohibiting non-conforming signs from being refaced with the caveat that I'll mention from the Planning Commission. The PMUD signage will follow residential requirements and the commercial aspect will follow commercial requirements. The BHAR will review signs over 4 square feet. Entrance corridor overlay, the Planning Commission will review all signs outside of residential districts. Internal illumination will be with a white light. And then we also added clarifying language excluding temporary personal expression signs from the temporary sign requirement of being 10 feet out of the right-of-way, but they still are required to be out of the right-of-way, just not an additional 10 feet. And then we updated the appeal for special sign exceptions. Instead of going to the BZA for approval, any appeal of a special sign exception would then come to Town Council. This application was favorably recommended by the Planning Commission at the May 14th meeting with the following additions: that we also removed neon from 3 locations within the ordinance. And then we updated non-conforming signs to read, non-conforming signs cannot be refaced and must be replaced and brought into compliance with this article unless approved on a case-by-case basis by a waiver of the Planning Commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have on these.
Any questions from Ms. Clary by members of council?
We will go into a public hearing
Yes.
to address the Article 2P 1617, 2V14, 11I4, 3RJ 3G, 8B6, and Article 10 amendments to the zoning ordinance. Thank you.
And I will open said public hearing at this time. Any in the public wish to be heard? I see we have 2 signed up. Teresa Mulheron. Thank you. Ross Younger? Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. The matter is before the council for discussion and action.
Mayor, I move to approve the amendments and revision of the Smithfield zoning ordinance as defined.
Motion made by Mr. Collins. Or a second to the motion?
Second.
second by Mr. Brooks. Further discussion? Would you call the question, please, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. Next item is item 3, motion to approve town council summary minutes. Mr. Riddick.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I'll review the minutes for both the May 7th and May 28th meeting, and I would recommend that both sets of minutes be approved as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collins. Further discussion? Would you call the question, please, ma'am?
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. We now enter into the new business section, resolution to approve and adopt fiscal year 2024-2025 operating budget for the town of Smithfield, Virginia, and appropriate the requisite funds for the said budget. Will that be Mr. Riddick or Mr. Stallings?
Mr. Stallings.
Mr. Stallings.
Yes, sir. This is the first of 5 actions need to be taken to implement and adopt the operating budget for fiscal year 24-25. This first resolution approves the budget and appropriates the funds. Council held its public hearing on May 28th. There have been no changes since that meeting. It is as it was presented that evening.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Stallings? Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve and adopt the fiscal year 24-25 operating budget for the town of Smithfield, Virginia, and appropriate the requisite funds for said budget.
Motion made by Finance Chair Councilman Pack. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Smith. Further discussion? Call the question, please, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. Next item?
Yes, sir. The second is the ordinance that sets the tax rates for the upcoming year. As we've discussed, the only increase in this at all is the 6% increase in the trash collection fee due to the increase in cost to the town to provide that service.
Mr. Stallings, will you give us a dollar amount on that 6% increase per household, please?
Yes, sir. The new rate will be $87.12 per home. We're currently in the $82 range. It went up $4.
Annually, sir?
Yes, sir, annually, and that is per house. So that is how we are charged. We receive an invoice per house. So that's how we charge it as well. It's on the tax bills.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Further questions? Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the ordinance imposing and levying taxes within the town of Smithfield, Virginia upon real property, upon public service corporation, upon personal property, upon machinery and tools, and upon mobile homes for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 24, and ending June 30, 25.
Motion made by Councilman Pack. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Councilman Smith. Further discussion? Call the question, please, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. Next, please, sir.
The next is the ordinance that just codifies that trash collection fee as it's included in the budget, as well as there's an ordinance in town code that sets the fee. So this just codifies that same rate in town code.
And further, it clarifies, because there was some misunderstanding, there's several property owners within the town that will have more than one parcel. You only get charged per house, or eligible structure, because there are small commercial structures who are eligible for trash collection. They get charged for the trash collection too. So that's all codified in the town code now.
Thank you, Mr. Riddick. Any other questions of Mr. Stallings or Mr. Riddick? The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 66, Article 1 of the Code of the Town of Smithfield to establish a fee for collection of garbage and refuse.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gibbs. Further discussion? Was there a second? I missed it.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Gibbs, my fault.
Yes, sir.
Back. Any further questions? Call the question, please, ma'am.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. Next?
The next is a resolution that adopts the capital improvements plan as it's presented in the budget.
Questions of Mr. Stallings? Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move to accept a resolution to approve and adopt the 5-year capital improvement plans for the period covered by fiscal years 24 and 25 through 28 and 29.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brooks. Further discussion? Call the question, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes.
And the final is the ordinance that sets the water and sewer rates. Again, the only adjustments here is the in-town, or the water rates and sewer rates both went up 25 cents this year per 1,000 gallons. So the new in-town rate for water is $7 per 1,000 gallons, and the new in-town sewer rate is $3.99 per 1,000 gallons. So they both went up 25 cents.
Thank you. Questions of Mr. Stallings by members of council?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Yes,
Smith.
Michael, can you explain to the public why these have gone up? I know increased costs with the water and so forth, with maintenance and so forth, and also we're affected by HRSD, I feel sure. So can you explain that to them?
Yes, sir. The cost of producing water as well as sewer have gone up. The cost of our chemicals have gone up exponentially. So we have those. We do pay HRSD for the disposal of all of the waste from the RO process, so our water treatment, all of the water that comes out of that process that isn't drinking water has to go to HRSD, and as their rates go up, our costs go up for that. We somewhere between $250,000 a year we pay just to dispose of the stuff that comes out of RO. And the same with our sewer. As we continue to have to do repairs and comply with the consent order, the cost of labor, materials, all of that are going up exponentially. So this just helps us keep pace with those increasing costs.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Further questions? The chair will entertain a motion.
And finally tonight, Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the ordinance to establish a water and sewer rate schedule as proposed.
Motion made by Mr. Pack. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Collins. Further discussion? Call the question, please.
Mr. Pack?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Bowman?
Yes. Is there any old business to come before council? Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.